Splash of Red. The Life and Art of Horace Pippin, written by Jen Bryant. My name is Mr. Ray, and I'll be reading this lovely, colorful book to you all. On February 22nd, 1888, the town of Westchester, Pennsylvania, celebrated a holiday. That day, in that same town, Daniel and Josephine Pippin celebrated the birth of their son. Horace grew fast, so fast his mother could barely keep up with the mending. He'll be a giant someday, the neighbors would say. Grandma Pippin smiled at Horace's long legs and big hands. She figured the neighbors were right. Grandma's hands were big too, rough and scratched from her slave days in Virginia. But they were just fine for giving Horace hugs. The biggest part of you, she told them, was inside, where no one can see. When Horace was 3 years old, the Pippins moved to Goshen, New York, as the family grew larger. Everyone helped out. Horace put his big hands to work. He fetched flour for his mother. He sorted laundry with his sisters. He played with his baby brother. He held the horse while the driver delivered milk. At night, he piled wood from the stove and arranged dominoes so his grandmother could play. Then he could find a scrap of paper and a piece of charcoal. He drew pictures of what he had seen that day. Horace loved to draw. He loved to feel the charcoal as it slid across the floor. He loved looking at something inside the room and making it come alive again in front of him. He loved thinking about a friend or a pet, then drawing them from the picture in his mind. At school, he sat quietly at his desk, but his big hands were always busy. Make pictures for us, Horace, his classmates said, and he did. His pictures made people happy, except when he made some next to his spelling list. That made the teacher mad. You could see the spelling list. Pictures just come to my mind, and I tell my heart to go ahead. But Horace couldn't stop drawing. One day, Horace saw a funny face in the magazine. "Draw me and win a prize," it said underneath. Horace drew the face and sent it off. A few weeks later, a package arrived inside. Horace found colored pencils, a pair of brushes, a box of paints. "Congratulations," said the note. Horace had won his first real art supplies. "Paint a picture for us, Horace," his sisters cried, and Horace did. He painted everyday scenes and natural colors. Then he added a splash of red. Horace was in 8th grade when his father left for good. The family needed money, so Horace quit school and went to work. For several years, Horace's big hands were always busy, stacking grains, sacks at the feed store, shoveling coal at the rail yard, mending fences on a farm, carrying luggage at a hotel, making brakes in the iron factory, packing oil paintings into large wooden crates. Looking at those made Horace remember winning the art contest. How proud he'd been. How he loved those colored pencils, those brushes, and his first real box of paints. Horace was such a big man now, with big responsibilities. Still, he loved drawing as much as he always had. He used charcoal, broken pencils, whatever he could find. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the other workers said, and Horace did. Far across the ocean, a terrible war had begun. Horace's big heart wanted to help. The good old USA was in trouble with Germany. He joined the army and sailed away. In France, Horace and his regiment dug deep trenches for protection. There were no blankets, no beds, and it was always wet, cold, and dark. I had not seen the sun in more than a month, Horace wrote. He wrapped his big hands around his rifle. Planes droned overhead. Shells exploded. Gunfire rattled through the night. If the fight stopped for a while, Horace put down his gun and picked up a pencil. Make a picture for us, Horace, his soldier friends pleaded, and Horace did. He filled his notebooks one by one. The new war brought out all the art in me. War. One day, he climbed to the top of a trench. A shot rang out. Bah! Horace felt pain in his shoulder. He was hit. Many hours passed before help came. Horace was glad to be alive, but the bullet badly damaged his right arm, and when it healed, he couldn't lift or move it the way he used to. Now, when someone said, "Make a picture for us, Horace," he couldn't. After the war, Horace came back to the United States and met Janine Wade. Janine was a hard worker. She loved to cook. Horace was a hard worker too, and he loved to eat. So it was a good match. They married and settled down in Westchester. I can never forget the suffering, and I will never forget the sunset. I came home with all of it in my mind. Horace was 32 years old, as big and strong as he ever was. But because of his injured arm, he couldn't find a job. "How much can you lift?" the hiring boss asked, and that was the end of that. So Horace did what he could. He organized a Boy Scout troop. He umpired baseball games. He took the neighbor's children fishing. When Janine started a laundry business, Horace delivered the clean clothes. As he walked along the streets of Westchester, his fingers itched to draw all the colors and textures he saw. Lacy white curtains billowing the windows, a splash of red drums blooming on a step, a yellow cat sprinting down an alley, deep green vines spiraling up a wall. His old home in Goshen, his grandmother's slave days, and the Bible stories she told him made pictures in his mind. He longed to draw them too, but how? His right arm was weak and painful to lift. The iron poker stood by the fire, straight, tall as a soldier. Could he? With his left hand, he grasped his right wrist and thrusted the poker into the flames until it glowed red hot. Using his good arm to move the hurt one, he scorched lines into the woods. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the neighbor said, and he did. With practice, his arm grew stronger, his hand steadier. "Maybe now," he told Janine, "I can try painting." There was no money for art supplies, so Horace used old brushes and leftover house paint he found in the alleys. For a canvas, he used a clean piece of cloth. Every day and late into the night, Horace worked on his paintings. He used gray, black, and white, the somber colors of war. Here and there, he added a splash of red. If a man knows nothing but hard times, he will paint them, for he must be true to himself. He used 100 layers of paint to decorate the frame with tiny sculptures. 3 years later, he finished. I go over that picture in my mind several times. And when I am ready to paint it, I have all the details I need. Now, as he delivered laundry to finish or fished in the river, new ideas came, but he didn't paint them right away. Before he reached the brush, Horace planned each new scene in his head. He painted the milkman and his wagon, women working in the kitchen, children playing games in the yard, cotton fields and log cabins, John Brown and Abraham Lincoln, war scenes and Bible tales, and men singing on the corner. Horace hung his paintings in a shoe store window. $5 each, said the sign. He hung others in a restaurant. He even traded one for a haircut. People admired Horace's paintings, but no one bought them. Then the president of the local artist club saw Horace's pictures. He told his friends, the famous painter N.C. Wyeth, to come see them too. Wyeth agreed. Horace's paintings are good, very good. Do you have more? The men asked. Horace showed them his work. He held his breath as they looked and talked. Finally, they said, you should have your own art show. A one-man exhibition, right here in Westchester. Horace could hardly believe it. He shook hands with the men. When they left, he celebrated with Janine. It is some of the purest expression I've seen in a long time, the man said. People came from all around to see Horace's paintings. Magazines wrote articles, reporters took pictures. An art dealer told Horace he would help him sell his work. More than 40 years had passed since Horace won his first box of paints. Now at last, everyone knew he was an artist. Horace became famous. His paintings hung in big city galleries, museums displayed them, collectors admired them, movie stars bought them. Once again, Horace's big hands were always busy. And if you stood outside his house late at night, you just might see him leaning towards his easel, his left hand holding up his right, painting the pictures in his mind. And this is A Splash of Red.